Welcome, everyone, to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter. I am a curator in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies at the University of Pennsylvania Library's Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books and Manuscripts. This is Coffee with a Codex. It's our weekly manuscript show and tell. And every week I take a book off the shelf and I show it to you on Zoom. It's very informal. If you've been here before, you know the drill. If you have questions or comments, please leave them in the chat. I will keep my eye on the chat. My colleague, Amy Hutchins, who I just see is here. She is our manuscripts cataloging librarian. She will also keep her eye on the chat. Yes, so informal, we're here. I'm actually not at Penn today. Today, I am on a field trip because I'm at the International Congress on Medieval Studies in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is where I got my master's degree many, many years ago. So it's always a pleasure to come back. And I am here in the
Zhang Legacy Collections Center.
The Zhang Legacy Collections Center, which is the Special Collections Center. And we're going to take a look at this delightful manuscript. I'm here with Susan Steuer, who is the head of Special Collections.
No. Librarian for Distinctive Collections.
Librarian for Distinctive Collections. And Marjorie Harrington, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
We're a Medieval Institute.
I am the program manager for Medieval Studies.
Program manager for Medieval Studies, and also a manuscript scholar. And you teach, and you have looked at this manuscript. We were actually talking before that this manuscript, because I want to give credit where credit's due. So the manuscript cataloging record was written by Liz Teviotdale, who I don't know if she might be here. We thought she might come in. So Liz, if you're here, hello. If you're not, everyone else knows that Liz wrote the catalog record, and then there was some additional work done maybe by your local cataloger.
And this item was purchased with a Breslauer grant.
Great to know. And so Marjorie has spent some time looking at it. And so I'm going to page through. Marjorie's going to tell us a little bit more about it. And if you have questions, please hop on in and we'll see what we can do. And again, I am aware that there is a shadow of my cell phone here. I am sorry about that. We'll just ignore that for now. We'll just look at the manuscript. All right.
Let's do that.
Okay, so this is a 12th century, we said. It is little. You can see how little it is. I can just hold it in my hands like a little baby.
It's just a small friend.
It's just a small friend, and it's beautiful on the inside too. The binding is modern binding, but it's a little worn. It does sort of look like what I think a contemporary binding would look like. So it is in the sort of historical bend there. So let's take a look inside, and we'll get in here. So this will give you a sense of what this looks like. So it is 12th century. We were trying to figure out this script. What did you come on with this script?
So we're thinking that this is early 12th century, part of the transitional period from Carolingian to Gothic scripts. And part of how you can tell that is that all of the letters look pretty much exactly like how you would expect them to look like from in a modern book. Times New Roman, the basic font that newspapers are typeset in, is based on a 14th century reconstruction of Carolingian script. And so you can see none of these letters look that strange. You can probably read just about everything that you see on this page. With a couple exceptions, do you see that D right above Dot's finger there? That D is starting to lean to the side, and that is a sign that this is starting to get toward the Gothic period, starting to get into the 13th. It's not fully Gothic, not what we would expect from a 13th century manuscript, but it's not Carolingian anymore either. And a Carolingian page, you would expect it to be very light and airy with thin pen strokes, lots of space between the lines.
And this is really...
There is not a lot of space here. This is a really...
Excuse me.
If you look at any of these letters, they're written with a fairly thick quill. Mm-hmm. And especially if you look at the tops of some of these letters, like this letter L here, Do you see where that L is actually forking at the top? That forked ascender is a
You
sign
can
that,
really see them here.
oh
too,
yeah,
these two
oh,
L's at the top.
I love those.
Yeah, so this is a sign of that style of
Yeah, that we are moving out of Carolingian and into the pre-Gothic transitional scripts.
Yeah, I'm also noticing too. So we've got this D here, but then just in this word right before it, we have a straight up D with the fork. And I think most of the D's, I was looking for other D's on the page, and there are more of them too that have that sort of forked thing.
And another thing you might want to notice here on that bottom line, the third word, cheli, do you see that little thorn shape at the bottom? That is the tiny remnants of an AE ligature.
Ah, okay.
So that is, we call that an E caudata, an E with a tail. And it's just got the tiniest little tail on it. And it's funny because this is a scribe who's attempting to reproduce classical Latin spelling, and he knows that there are AEs. Actually, can we go back real quick? Because there's another E caudata right there on the top line. Do you see there at the end of adire? That should not be an AE. This is a scribe who knows that Latin sometimes has an AE, and he's just added that E caudata to stand in for an AE where there wouldn't have been one etymologically.
So do you think that he's just doing that to be decorative?
No, I think he
You
just
think
got
he
it wrong.
just got it wrong? All right.
It's hilarious.
So now we are gonna start moving through because I want to get to this illumination or this initial. It's not really illuminated because there isn't I don't think that's gold. It just looks like
No.
yellow,
That's just yellow.
and then this beautiful blue around it, and there's a little bit of red too, and very fine detail, I think, in that. It's just a really nice and you can see from the size of my finger, this is not a large initial there. So I don't know if you have a lot to say about the initial itself more than what I've said.
I don't know much about initials. I think it's pretty though.
Yeah.
I also like this rubric here where they've done something that's almost like rustic capitals for this little heading here that identifies the author, Paschasius Radbertus.
And I think it's a little hard to see on the camera, but there is red ink that's been put into each of these as a little bit of decoration and a little blue. So there's a little blue here and here, and then there's red.
And we've got yellow too.
Oh,
it
yeah,
looks
there
like
is a
we've
little
got a little
yellow.
bit of alternating between some, if you look on Suo, you've got red on the S, a little bit of yellow on that V, and then red on the O.
Oh, you're right. It is going back
I
and
think,
forth between
yeah.
red and yellow, and then they added blue here.
Oh, yeah. So when we get to Delectissimo, then we're doing.
Then you've got the blue end, like from the initial.
Yeah, so we're going blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow.
Yeah, which is fun. There are also little bits, again, it's a little hard to see on the camera, but there are letters in the text itself that have a little bit of red there. And I'm just noticing over here, we have a little, it looks like that's probably somebody
Suo?
adding. Yeah, maybe they're trying, I don't know. It's hard to tell because there's it's a little bit messy there. If somebody tried to fix an error and then they decided to write it out in the margin. But all right, let's keep going. What is the book about? we should maybe start there. It's a treatise, right? A treatise on the Eucharist, a treatise of the Eucharist by, as you said, Paschasius Radbertus, who signed his name, abbot of Corbie, with an extensive marginal apparatus. I was just reading the record, and I'm going to zoom out a little teeny bit because when we get to the marginal, I just showed you like one little marginal note, but when we actually get to like some of the more substantial notes, it's really impressive. So right now I'm just paging through. There are some pages we noted that we wanted to point. Okay, so here we're getting to a point where I wanted to stop, and that is because, as you can see, there's a big gap here. So we've come to the end of a choir, and the start of a new choir. So a choir is the basic building block of, no, it's not it is a building block. I guess it's the basic building block. Itself, it has other building blocks of the Codex manuscript. So the way this manuscript was made, as all Codex manuscripts are made, is you have sheets of parchment, multiple sheets. I think in this case, it's 4 sheets.
Yeah.
And then they're folded to make a little booklet of 8 leaves, and then they're sewn together. And you can even see, in this case, these were sewn onto, I think these are probably leather or maybe cloth tapes. So this is what holds the book together, and then you attach the binding to it, and then you have your Codex book. And there are various ways that the people who made the books indicated how the order that the choirs were to go in, and the most typical way is to number them. So this is 1 here. So we know that that's the end of choir 1, and then I skip ahead, and here's choir 2. And as we go through, you'll see more of this. Now, this is totally usual and normal and not at all interesting, except that I think it's interesting because I'm interested in that. What is interesting is this little thing over here, which is, we think that that is a QR, and that's probably an abbreviation for quaternion, which is the Latin word for a choir. Yes.
I think that they're just telling us it is a choir.
It's a choir, in case you didn't know. And this is the first choir, and then the second choir, and so on. And so this is just neat because that is not something, maybe I've seen it before, but I don't remember it. So that's pretty.
You were confused about what that 1 and 2 meant.
Yes, it's the choir and choir 1. And of course, as the choirs were made, they were numbered. And so when it was time to bind them, you could check to make sure that they were in order. And that was one way to do them. So it looks like we've gotten to the end of a text here, and then we're going to turn the page, and we're going to have another fine initial of the same sort of coloring. And over here.
Yes, this is a really handsome little book. The scribe is great. His letter forms are pretty, but his parchment is honestly kind of terrible. You can see this hole right here in the middle of the leaf.
Right there. Yeah.
And you can see in the spot where there was a hole in the parchment and they sewed it closed, you can probably see those little holes where the needle and the thread pass through.
Yeah, the thread is gone, but we can still see the little, it's almost like a little, like a scar. But it was made, of course, when the animal was not alive, so not really a scar because it didn't grow together. But when the parchment was being made, this would have been sewn up, so it basically kept it from stretching too much, although it did stretch a little bit.
It totally did.
Yeah.
Someone's parchment budget wasn't very high.
No, but he did the best that he could. He really did a nice job with the writing. So, and another, I know we're going to point this out in various places, but because the parchment's made of animal skin, it has a hair side and a flesh side. And so the hair side was the outside. And this parchment, one of the ways that we know that it's not really great parchment is that the hair side has a lot of follicles on it. So I hope you can kind of see on both sides, we have these little black spots.
I want to jump up to 18 and 22. Those have some more.
Yeah, let's go. We'll actually go up there and then we'll maybe come back. Yeah, here we go. So here's another one that has quite a lot of hair follicles. And there's this, look at that.
You can see practically stubble on this guy.
Yeah.
If you pet it, you can feel a slightly raised surface.
Yeah, it has not been scraped. You would scrape it with that, scrape it there. Let's see. And then here, I wanted to come back because I saw this in the margin. This is a Cairo. Which it's an abbreviation for Christ, right? For the name of Christ. And Liz Taviat-Dale, when she was cataloging this, was very interested because there are a lot of these. We'll see them in other places in the manuscript. And I think we're still not sure exactly what's going on with that.
There's definitely something that they want to flag for readers. But given that this is a treatise about the Eucharist, the entire thing is about Jesus. So the Cairo, the abbreviation for Christ, that doesn't tell us much.
No, it's sort of everywhere. I just want to see. Let's keep moving. We'll keep moving forward. let's see, I did point out this initial I like quite a lot because it also has, it's small, but it's also got the red and the blue and the yellow. See, and I want to get, so here's more of these kairos here in the margin. Oh, Laura just had an alert, white smoke. I guess we've got a new pope.
I guess we do.
So we'll find out more. Let us know, Laura, if you find out more. This is sort of a good book, I guess, to be looking through at
It
at
seems
this
appropriate.
time. All right, here we go. So this is why I'm excited about these marginalia, because it's not just words in the margin. We've got these little boxes drawn around them. And this is something that you do see, but these are just, I don't know, they're just really delightful. I have no idea what they're saying in them, but there's an abbreviation and some
Nota bene de agno. Pay
Oh.
attention about the lamb.
Oh, there we go. Okay, pay attention about the lamb. And then we've got two sets of boxes that are sort of drawn. So there's sort of a very thin black box or brown box with a little decoration and then the red. So they were really taking care with this. And from this point on, you're going to see a lot more of these here.
Oh, and here we've got another one. Nota bene unde sacramenta. So pay attention what is said about this accordingly, about the sacrament.
Sacraments, right?
And some of these are also referring to sources. So this YS, that's Isaiah. So
Okay, and I saw there was another one too. We'll see
yeah,
more
we
of those.
saw an HIL, I think, somewhere that's referring to Bishop Hilarianus. Is that his name?
Hilarianus.
That's
Anybody know? I don't know, but that's great. And here's more of these little
Mysterium.
Mysterium. Yes.
Literal.
And it just says Mysterium there in the text as well.
Yeah, look at that. While we're looking at that, look at that letter G.
So all morning, Marjorie has been talking about the G's. They're really delightful here in this manuscript.
Look at that lower lobe, you guys. That curly Q, that is the handsomest little guy.
There's also one over here. Maybe not quite as handsome. There was one that was a total curly Q.
Yeah, I think we had that guy on.
Oh, you wrote it down.
39 and 40.
Okay, so
just a little bit further.
We'll get there, 39 and 40. And we'll keep.
Note the words of the abbot.
The words of the abbot. Do we know which his abbot?
Oh, never mind. I fully misread that.
Oh, no.
Baptisme. That's a misspelling of baptism. Because again, this is medieval Latin. So if you look at this word right here, that BABTISMI,
Baptismi.
Baptismi sacramentum. So, you don't have to spell it with a P if you don't want to.
Bab.
And so there we say, so that note and then that is verbum baptisme. So the word about the baptism.
Yeah. So Matilda says she's fascinated by the scribal abbreviations. And yes, there are a lot of them.
This is really highly abbreviated for a Carolingian manuscript. Yet another sign that we're getting on the way toward a Gothic script.
Yeah, but all of the little lines, those are called macrons. The above, that's indicating some kind of abbreviation. And then you have things like down here where you have the line through the bottom of the P.
You guys should notice this one.
Yeah, here, I'm just
let's take a look on that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a Christi, XPI, which is a sort of another version of the Cairo, which means Christi.
Yes. So if anyone doesn't know your Greek alphabet, and to be fair, I don't, except for a couple of these letters.
I know Cairo.
X is Chi, P is Rho, and so it's standing for the Greek word Christus.
Yes. Oh, and then we have that like that over there.
And so that version, it's been basically turned into a monogram by putting the Rho right on top of the Chi. And so it stands together as a single symbol there.
Yeah. Ooh, more notes.
Dubitabulate Oh, something's doubtful. Oh, and to accept in baptism the Holy Spirit. Nota. Something is doubtful about if something having to do with maybe if the Holy Spirit is involved or not in baptism. We would have
Interesting.
to read this to know
To
for
know what
sure.
he's talking about. Yeah, but it's a lot of sort of additional notes on there. So I think this is where we saw this. So we saw this little piece here and we're like, oh, it's a stub. And then we realized that it's not. Is this the one? I think this is it. Oh, or is it? No,
Nope,
here we
there
go.
we go.
And then there's also a stub over here. We think this is actually a guard. Well, you know what? I'm not so sure now.
Oh, are those not conjoined?
No, they are.
Yeah.
They're conjoined. No, I was. So I'm getting thrown off because this is hair side.
Yes.
And this is hair side.
Yes.
And then this is flesh side.
Right.
And this is, well, maybe that is flesh side. It's just a kind of messy flesh side. Okay. Okay. No, I'm
We're
fine.
okay.
We're fine.
It's
Sorry.
all right.
So there's a guard in here, and guards are used sort of put around the bottoms of choirs to make them stronger. I don't know why. It's sort of in the middle of a choir. It's a little strange.
So there are two really stressful places in a choir, and one is on the outside and one is on the inside, because that's where the extra force of the sewing is going to try and tear holes.
Yeah.
But it's actually sort of
It's in the
around
middle.
the middle
It's on the
two
middle.
leaves.
Yeah. I'm not really sure
Why we needed
it, or where, like, if at what point this was added. Like, was this original or was this added when it was rebound?
That could be.
So I want to point out something Laura is saying in the chat, because I hadn't made this connection before. Laura says, love the way they decorate the gloss inside fortifications and towers. And I hadn't really noticed, but it does look like that. Yeah.
That hadn't really registered for me
it was just a
either.
cute box. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting point there. So we have like 4 minutes.
Oh no.
So
4
I know,
minutes.
no, I tell you, it's really easy to get carried away when you're doing this.
Show folio 80.
80. Okay, so we're going to jump ahead. You've seen a lot. Like, the whole book pretty much looks like that. But there were a few things that we wanted to point out. Yeah.
So
it's going to be really hard to see.
So what you guys have probably seen in a lot of these other episodes are ruling with ink, where they've drawn in the lines with ink or with pencil. What's happening on this particular guy is that there's no ink, there's no pencil, they've just ruled it with dry point.
Yeah.
And that means that they've sort of dragged a stylus through the parchment to make some really faint lines.
Can you get your camera? I'm going to see if we can get the light, because I think it's hard to see.
Maybe if we could get a little raking light.
A little raking light? Yeah.
Oh, does that...
Can you see that a little bit better? Yes.
There we go.
And in person, it's really clear that, yeah, so that's how they did the light. And you can't, so the leaves have been trimmed a little bit, but if you look at the edge, you can see there's a little bit of a scallop here. It's like they cut right through the prick marks. So when they were preparing the parchment, they would have put little holes on the side and on the other side over here, which you can't see because it's over here, but on the other side. And then that's how you draw. You take some kind of straight edge and draw from line to line using just the dry point, and that's how you rule the page. There's also up and down ruling too, from the top to the bottom, and you can actually see the prick marks are retained mostly on those pages. Let's go down to the bottom. Yeah, so there's the prick marks.
And there's one of our G's.
Oh, here's the G. Look at that G with that fantastic little. I like to think that the scribe was having a good time with.
I hope so. I would have.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else that we wanted to show?
Just on the other side of 80.
On the other side.
Ah, yes. So you know how we said that the scribe didn't have a great parchment budget? Let me see if this light helps at all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So those Do you see those
like,
lines?
scrapes here. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are places where the parchment was damaged as they were scraping it. If you've ever used a knife that wasn't quite sharp enough and it sort of skidded across a surface, that's what it looks like happened to this manuscript right here when they were preparing the parchment.
So it's not very good parchment.
It's really not. And if you could just wiggle the page a little bit, you can maybe see the light shining through it. Those are very thin. The parchment maker was so close to actually gashing all the way through the parchment. He's really lucky it didn't happen.
Yeah, he didn't do that. And one more thing to point out here is this one. So this is actually a QR with that's an A above it. And this is, I think when we saw this, we were like, yeah,
that's definitely quaternion.
Quaternion.
That's definitely the abbreviation for choir.
Yeah. So do we have one more thing, maybe?
Look at the foredge. It looks like there's some color there, and I can't tell if that's just if you close it.
Yeah, I think that's where.
Just bleed through.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know. So what
39 and 40
Susan
has
is
more
pointing out is
damage.
that there's a little bit, there's like red. I don't know. I wonder if it's from. I was going to say it's from. So this one, well, no, it hasn't been trimmed through the edge of the box here. No, I don't know. Maybe it was colored at one point and then it was trimmed.
Or it was an old shelf mark or something, maybe.
No, look. So if you look at it this way, there's diagonal lines. Sorry, that's not. Oop. Hold on, let me zoom out a little bit. There's actually it's clearly diagonal lines of red across.
Does it help any? Probably not.
Not really. Let's see if we can. No, but it's less clear on the front edge. That's really cool. Okay, there was one more thing I wanted to say, and that was that Laura said in the chat, I bet those Kairos are Penn trials that the scribe did, which maybe, but sometimes there are two of them together on the page, and I think they're kind of red. So I don't know.
Yeah,
they are with red ink. I think that's a little hard to see.
And there's a little bit of decoration to it.
There's a little green, I think, or maybe yellow there.
Yeah, I think it's that same yellow, like standing in for gold.
Yes. And Laura, I think this is addressed to you. Says excellent commentary. You really know your stuff.
Oh,
and I would say yes, indeed. I'm so glad to have been here, and it is time to go. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, Susan and Marjorie, for being with me. Thanks for letting me come in and show off your manuscripts. This is really fantastic.
It's always good to have a chance to talk about our collections.
It is really fun. So I'll be back next week with another manuscript. I will not be back in 2 weeks. We are taking the 22nd off because I'm going to be out of town. But yeah, thanks everyone, and we will see you again soon.